Starting us off tonight, former Associate Counsel to President George W. Bush, Jamil Jaffer. He was the lead architect of the 2015 Iran Nuclear Agreement Review Act. And retired Brigadier General Steve Anderson. Glad to have both of you here to help make sense of what's happening for the audience. Jamil, let me ask you, because Gabbard, she avoided answering whether Iran posed an imminent threat, but said there would be a nuclear threat before 2035. People are picking up on this distinction, this contradiction between what the intel community is saying and the White House. How do you see it?
Well, I think the challenge for Tulsi Gabbard is that she doesn't support this war. That much has been clear from the jump. She's trying to avoid saying what Joe Kent said, which is that he didn't think there was a cause for war here. She thinks the same thing, but realizes she has to play with the White House and abide by the president's viewpoint. So she's saying, well, it's the president's choice to determine what threat is imminent. Now, look, Iran has been killing Americans by the hundreds for dozens of years. They have been going after us for years upon end. They do pose an imminent threat. We've killed Americans with ballistic missiles in the region.
An ongoing or an imminent threat?
Both. Ongoing is imminent. If you punch me in the face yesterday, and you punch me in the face the day before that, and the day before that, tomorrow it's an imminent threat. Now, just because I didn't do anything about it for the last 3 days, like President Obama, like President Biden, and like President Trump the first time, didn't do anything about it, doesn't mean it's not imminent today.
I wonder, because the intel community in general believes the Iranian regime is still intact, albeit largely degraded is the phrase that we often hear, but by, of course, the airstrikes. Given that, how long could this war last if regime change is, frankly, an objective?
Laura, this war is going to last, I think, a long time. I mean, it could last for a very, very long time. The problem is that the IRGC is intact, and even Tulsi Gabbard said today that they are intact. The regime is intact, and as long as that happens, these people are going to keep fighting. I mean, I remember what Andy Rooney said 30 years ago on 60 Minutes. You know, there's no fanatic like a religious fanatic. The country is full of religious fanatics. The IRGC, 200,000 religious fanatics, and they're fighting for their lives. They know that if they are overthrown, if the regime changes in any way, they're likely going to be killed. So they're fighting is an existential threat to them. So they have hunkered down. They're trying to wait us out. And I want to use another quote. You know, Henry Kissinger said in Vietnam that America loses if they don't win, and Vietnam wins if they don't lose. The exact same thing is true here. Iran will win by not losing, and that's what they're trying to do.
Waiting us out, that's a timeline that's quite the gamble.
It is, but the real truth is we know the president's getting tired of this war already. He's said it a number of times. House Republican Conference just last week says it's going to be a short war. We're going to be done with it soon, you know, a matter of weeks. He's talked about 4 weeks at the outside. Clearly, I think the general's right that this is going to go on longer. But the question is what does an end state look like? What is it the president wants to achieve? At the outset, he said the Iranian people should rise up, take back their government. We're not anywhere near that. Says end the nuclear program. We're not close to that. Said we're going to eliminate ballistic missiles. We're getting better on that, although still have a lot of missiles. They want to have launchers. Navy, we're done pretty well. And then their ability to foment terror. We're not very far along on that. Yes, Israel's taking a lot of Hezbollah operatives, but their ability to foment terror from home is still very much present.
What about the reporting from Reuters that the administration is weighing deploying thousands of more troops, and one of the potential options, apparently, is securing the Strait of Hormuz, which we know is the leverage that Iran is using right now for the global economy. That could also include, obviously, Iran's shoreline. So what does that tell you, given what, of course, Jamil and you were both talking about in terms of the length and the duration of this war, the idea of thousands of troops potentially being deployed?
Yeah, Laura, I mean, obviously, when you talk about boots on the ground, you're talking about extending this war tremendously. There's a couple of places. 31st Mew from Okinawa is inbound, probably be there in another week. It could be used at Karg Island to where they have the oil refineries and the oil shipping depot. They could also use the Mew because they conduct littoral operations, essentially amphibious operations, so they could use it on the coastline. Now, remember, though, Iran's got 1,000 miles of coastline. Okay, so there's a lot of places to hide. You know, that's like the entire West Coast, from California to Washington State. So there's a lot of places they can hide, but they could conceivably put them in there. The other thing that they've talked about using is putting boots on the ground to secure the nuclear sites.
Right.
But I submit to you the Mew is probably not the right element for that. You probably would be looking at the 160th SOAR, Special Operations Aviation Regiment, or maybe some kind of a special Delta Force operation. But in any way, in any shape, you put boots on the ground, you're going to extend this war tremendously.
Does the American people have the appetite for that? I mean, boots on the ground is exactly what it seemed was campaigned that they did not want. And we've heard about the mandate from voters for the first part of the administration's second term. Is the appetite there? Are the resources there to sustain a 1,000-mile coastline, shoreline, extended, almost indefinite war?
No, no, and no. There is one exception to that, and the president showed in Venezuela. You could put boots on the ground for a brief period, special forces operation, go in, take care of business, pull them out. If the president can message what he plans to do, whether it's around Karg Island, Bandar Abbas at the Straits of Hormuz, or something like that, or even as a targeted narrow operation alongside the Israeli special forces to go in and secure nuclear sites, extract that highly enriched uranium, right? Maybe address some centrifuges that are there. You can see a scenario under which the president is able to convince the American people of that and get away with that, right? I think any sustained operation, and Karg Island likely to be sustained, likely to sustain casualties, same thing at Bandar Abbas, very difficult to uphold, and any substantial deployment, almost impossible to survive politically at least.
Iranian state media says that Israel attacked a natural gas field, an energy lifeline for Iran, as you know. And tonight, the president is denying that the United States knew anything about that strike and posted on Truth Social, no more attacks will be made by Israel pertaining to this extremely important and valuable South Pars field. He goes on to say that if Iran retaliates, the U.S. will blow up the entire gas field. Room for de-escalation?
Yes, I mean, what they're trying to do, obviously, is put a hurt on the Iranian people to put pressure on the regime, obviously. And, of course, the Iranians are trying to do the exact same thing in the GCC by leveraging, attacks on their oil refineries and whatnot, putting pressure on them to put pressure on the United States to shut this thing down. So, obviously, this is going to be a tit-for-tat kind of a situation right now. But, really, if you look at what's going on economically, I mean, Iran, despite the fact that they're being attacked, they're able to export more oil now through the Strait of Hormuz than they did before the war started. It's incredible because they're just letting the Chinese and the Indian oil tankers through. There are 700 oil tankers sitting out there in the Persian Gulf that are waiting to get through. The escorts are inbound. When they get this escort mission going, it's going to take probably months to relieve that backlog and to get back to 100 oil tankers flowing through there every day. So this is going to be, buckle up, Laura. We're going to be here for a long time talking about this.
My goodness. And Jamil, what do you make of the fact that the president is suggesting that there was no advance notice that he was aware of Israel's plans to attack this natural gas field?
It would be unusual. Israel and the United States have been coordinating very closely on this war. We've been telling them what we plan to do. They've been telling us what they plan to do. At the same time, when they hit the oil depots, the president says the same thing. We didn't know what was going to happen. I've told them to cut it off. But if he told them once about the oil depots, surely they knew it meant the natural gas fields too. It wasn't confusing. They made a decision to go forward with that, either with the president's knowledge or without. He now says, I told them to not do it again. We'll see how long that lasts. But the truth is, the U.S. benefits from pressure on the Iranian regime as well, right? We may not want it to happen over and over again, but that pressure matters. And that escalation, maybe it's an escalation, but the Iranians have to hit back. And so far, we're not seeing that.
Either scenario suggests quite a power dynamic between the two countries. We'll see. Jamil Jaffer, General Steve Anderson, thank you both.